Good afternoon. It is May the 8th, 2020. This is the Service Hero Show, 365 Days of Awesome. Celebrate success through service. My name is Tamara Hunter, and I am beyond excited, grateful, humble, all of the above, plus just downright, this is going to be a great hour. Who I have as our service hero is we are actually going to be revisiting a service hero that I honored a while ago. And let me tell you why. This woman has everything to do with this show. She has everything to do with where it is that I currently am and where our program, Chemo Buddies for Life, where this show, Service Heroes, and where Tamara L Hunter brand is going in the future. Allison Larsen actually has so much to do with all of this, and that's what we're going to be talking about over this next hour. And by the time we're done, all of the new ones that are coming in, and I'm going to recognize you in a moment, all of our new buddies, all of our new, fans, if you will, are going to love Allison as much as I do. So welcome, Allison.
Thank you so much, Tamara. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too, and I'm going to recognize because you will be so excited. Let me tell you guys, everything we do, she's going to be like, oh, she did it. Oh, wow. These things, because a lot of what I have implemented are things that we had talked about, 2 years ago. And now they're here. They're out in the open. They're out in the world. And we have ambassadors that are ambassadors of Chemo Buddies, and then they are also helping with the Service Hero Show, and one of them, Rachel Johnson. So happy you're here with us. One of our newer, in the new group, because we had Sharon. I'm sure you remember Sharon. She was so involved in our organization. Well, we started back, and Helene was the one that kind of inspired that. So Helene, Ambassador Helene Wilson, glad that you're here with us. And they're all starting the thing that we do. We chat, we visit, and then we have Skip Thomas. Skip Thomas, I don't know if you know, he was around when we were working together. However, he became a board member now, and he's over our digital platforms. It's kind of nice to have an Emmy award-winning documentary film, producer, director on the, if you will, board. Isn't that great? So let's talk. Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. So let's talk, okay? You are now, we were just talking, you have relocated yourself, and you are in my old neck of the woods. So it was like, oh, wow, how small world is all of this, really, when it comes up. However, the smallest piece of the world, I will tell you, is this. I'm bringing up an image, guys. I captured it this morning. Was this right here. It came up in my news feed. Do you remember that, Allison?
I do. You were on my radio show. I love that.
And I believe it was my very first radio show, too.
Wow.
And it was close to it. It was right around that time where it was just starting to happen. And you were a catalyst in all of that. You have the radio show out of Voice America. Why don't you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, so it's called Spotlight, and it's just a passion project of mine. I love to spotlight my clients, and my friends, and people who are making a difference in the world. And so, of course, you were one of my favorite guests that I had on there, and I loved having you on. I love people that have stories, that have these life experiences. And because of their life experiences, they do something with it. I remember this emotional equation also showed up on my Facebook feed. I think I posted it the same day, a year earlier, prior to being on the radio show. And, they come up and say, hey, this is what you posted 3 years ago or whatever. And it's an emotional equation that says suffering minus meaning equals despair. Suffering plus meaning equals purpose. And so I love taking people on my radio show who've gone through some kind of trial, some kind of suffering. They found meaning in it, and they have this purpose. They're changing the world. So I love how you've been able to do that, Tamara. And of course, loved seeing your growth and all of the many, many, many lives that you are touching, and all of the people who just look up to you. So I love Tamara so much, and looking at all the people on here, I know they love you too.
Well, you know, and thank you for that. I will also say, because a lot of you may not know, Allison took this storyteller that can tell nice long stories and help me to learn to chop them up, because you took me through media training, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. And, you know, I got to give you a lot of credit, because the thing about Allison that I absolutely adore is that she'll look at your strengths, she'll listen, she'll reframe it, she'll package it into a way that I get it, I got it, and truthfully, I didn't feel beat up for it. I always felt encouraged, like, okay, I can do this, I can shorten it, I understand why, and let's do it. And then we would practice, and we had groups that we would practice with, and by the time that I started going on more of the podcasts, more of the radio shows, more of the TV shows, that training and the storytelling and the purpose of the story and you know, all of the above, I kept hearing your voice in my head encouraging me. And again, this is Service Hero Show. And yes, you're going to hear how she's involved in it in a moment. I want to say thank you for being a service hero in that respect, because it has served me so well over the couple of years.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Well, you have beautiful stories and a beautiful heart to share. I think, you know, a lot of us struggle with feeling like we're the world's best kept secret. Like maybe we have something that we can share that can really impact the world, but sometimes it's difficult to articulate. What is it exactly that we can share, and how do we share it in the most impactful way? And, you know, how do I take this story that's so meaningful to me that, you know, I can take 2 hours to tell and back it into 5 minutes to this point where it's going to just really reach out and touch somebody who needs to hear it. So it definitely is an art, and I definitely think that, you know, a lot of people feel the same way. In fact, you know, there's some people on here, I don't know, does anybody else feel like you're the world's best kept secret? Maybe just comment in the chat box. So yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that.
You know, and I will also say here, we've got Andre DSP is in the house. I love it. In fact, he was a big part. We're going to be bringing up an event, Andre, that you are our official videographer and photographer for here in a little bit. And Allison helped to make that happen. We have Lori Whitney in the house. Lori's so grateful you're with us. And I agree. You know, I will tell you this. I don't know if you've seen this, but Chemo Buddies for Life in the year 2020, as the year turned in, you know, on the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, we declared 2020 to be the year of love. And then we put it out with all the events to be the decade of love. And isn't it? I love it. I love it. And in fact, we call it the Love It movement. And, you know, but again, it brings me back to your story is such an inspirational story, and I want to be able to just touch some of the pieces of it, because you're into that soul intuition, that you know, intention, putting it out there, and sharing the stories and all of the above. You started because, I mean, you were raised, if you will, in a family where, you know, film and everything wasn't unfamiliar. However, you're a mom from Idaho, right?
Yeah, it's true. So it was really interesting. You know, growing up, my dad was a newscaster. In fact, he just barely retired this last Thanksgiving. And so he was a newscaster in Idaho Falls. And I remember, you know, from the time I was 4 years old and we moved there till the time he retired. He was kind of this local celebrity, and we'd watch him on the news. So I loved growing up that way, but I didn't really have any official media training. It was really interesting because I found myself at a point, probably it was 6 or 7 years ago, where I had 4 kids when I was relatively young. I spent my early 20s raising babies, and then I got into this world of entrepreneurship. And it was really interesting because I'd also done a lot of self-development and worked a lot on myself. And I remember this one moment in time where I just kind of felt and became overwhelmed with this desire to share what I had learned and how it impacted my life with the world. I'd gone from struggling with debilitating anxiety to being able to just love myself and live this life of manifestation. And I just really wanted to share that with people. And I remember one day just kneeling down and saying, God, I surrender. I just want to be an instrument in your hands. I want to help people. I want to teach them what I've learned. And it was really interesting because that's the moment that kind of was like the leaping off point. All of a sudden things started happening. First I felt called to pursue going to a mastermind that I just heard about through an email that was hours away, and met a mentor there that was able to open some new doors for me. And it was a crazy ride. So I went from being basically a stay-at-home mom and closet entrepreneur in a small town of less than 5,000 in Idaho to 9 months later, I had a reach of 2 million people, and I was speaking all over the world. And it was like kind of eye-opening and shocking. My very first speaking engagement was in Beverly Hills. And I've never been to Beverly Hills before. I was just this small town Idaho girl. So it was really fun. And from there, I got the TV show and the radio show. And it really was just a huge, giant gift. And God did open a bunch of doors for me, and came with a bunch of struggles as well. I definitely had some challenges along the way. Tamara, I know you know about some of those. We talked about those, but it's just really beautiful to see how everything's aligned to be where I am today, and being able to impact some people's lives, and just in a beautiful relationship, and just in the place where I feel in life that I can really use my gifts and the talents that God has given me to impact people.
So what I'm hearing is you're happy.
I am, yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that, because this is what Helene is saying. I am learning, Tamara, laughing out loud. She's a jokester, this one. She's always looking for a purple pen. She's calling people Waldo, and she gives us all nicknames in our chat. And then, she balks at us whenever there's any kind of a learning or homework assignment, though she's the first one to get involved. It's just kind of fun to have all of this community that has been created. And that's one of the things that you really have done, is you've created a culture and a community. And the very first time I met you was at this event. Wow. Yes, I did. I actually went through memory lane to look for some pictures, because when I featured you before, you were in your car, and it was I really didn't get to bring up a lot of pictures at that moment in time, and so I wanted to really tell that story. And Skip, you'll recognize who's in the middle of between you and David Fagan is Sherry Watson.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was at the Spirit Summit. And if you look in that crowd, guys, in the middle, kind of in the middle in the back, there is, you have to look really, really careful, but there I am. I'm in that crowd right there. And it was my very first summit, quote unquote, that I had, speaker kind of summit that I ever went to. I met you. I met many, many people. I met Frank Shankwitz, founder of Make-A-Wish, who is now one of our advisors for Chemo Buddies for Life. But I went to support Sherry Watson because you guys were giving her an award.
Yeah, that was so beautiful. It's amazing how when you celebrate people, and this is bringing up so many memories when I look at it. It seems like forever ago and just yesterday at the same time. So that was a really special event. I remember we had a special focus. We were honoring people who were really making a difference and an impact in the world. So I'm really, really glad you were able to be there.
Thank you. Yes, and then of course Sherry Watson, one of the chief architects with the Americans with Disabilities Act, and then her focus really has been on helping to create 10,000 nonprofits in the world, and she was one of the ones that helped. She's one of the senior advisors for Chemo Buddies for Life, and so but it piggybacked this whole situation, and this is how, bringing in the history here, guys, this is how I met this amazing, wonderful, beautiful woman here in front of us. And so then I kind of hounded you for a little bit. I started and you started inviting me to situations, and finally I said, okay, what would it take for me to be able to work with you and have you help me? Because by then we had gotten to know each other. I knew you had the kind of style that would help me to craft not only Chemo Buddies, but what it is that Tamara Hunter is doing also, and understand that, because you have multiple lines. You have the Speak Coalition, you have Soul Intuition, you have Allison Larsen, and your radio show, your TV show, Spotlight, all of the different brands. And you understood that you're a published author, all these amazing things. And we started working together. What was that like when you first said, okay, Tamara, let's do this?
Awesome. It's my personal motto that I only work with people who I really believe in and love to work with. And so it was amazing when we started working together. I remember feeling a little bit intimidated because I wasn't quite sure, exactly how the whole charity world worked and everything that was going on. And I remember there were some logistical things, but I remember believing in you so much and in your cause, and just seeing such this passion behind you. And it really does make a difference, the person and the passion that they have for what they're doing. There's a lot of people that just approach business as a money-making activity, or they just approach life or business, from this standpoint of not really being excited about it. And what I've learned is that the more someone's passionate and excited about something, the more likely it is to succeed. And it's really that passion and that excitement that sustains whatever you're doing through those hard times. And so I loved witnessing and seeing that passion in you. And then of course, just the heart that you have for all the people that you're serving. And I remember just you telling your story of what it was like to go through chemotherapy, for you to talk about your battle with cancer and how lonely, that can be. And I thought, wow, everybody deserves to have a friend. Everybody deserves to not be alone when they're going through this battle and this struggle. And so I really remember believing in you and your cause, and just seeing that fiery passion. You guys all know Tamara. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I'm like, wow, how much sleep do you get? And can I have some of that, whatever you're taking, because you've got so much energy and passion behind everything you do.
Well, back at you. And the partnership. Okay, so we started teaming together. We started having some fun together. I mean, we started doing some fun stuff together, and okay, I have to.
I remember that. Yeah.
Let me bring back something. Okay, you're gonna remember this. Remember that? You remember that? Guys, that was the very first time I ever held a cordless mic. And it was that event, media training in LA. And there I am, dressed in that black dress. And I'm giving, and you had helped coach me with, the presentation, which went off flawlessly. However, I see that face. Okay, so you remember this?
Yes, I remember saying, Tamara, why are you wearing black? And I said, if you're going to be talking to people about having this positive attitude that are going through chemotherapy, there has to be a different color besides black. And it's so interesting because I think just naturally, you know, especially us as women, sometimes we think, well, you know, black slimming or it's classic or it's sleek or whatever. So, and I also remember thinking that just didn't fit your personality. Like you've such this amazing, colorful, bright personality. And I was like, I don't know, I'm not black. And have you guys ever seen Tamara in black since then?
Not much, not much at all. I mean, in fact,
look good in black, of course you do, but it's also was fun to find some brighter colors and have you start stepping away from the depressive black look. Yes, I remember this in Las Vegas. Oh my gosh, we went so many places, didn't we? I'm thinking,
yeah, we really did.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Las Vegas.
We had a lot of fun in Las Vegas, and so
I remember the limo.
Yeah, go ahead. I
was just laughing. I'm just remembering.
You know, and this is a little bit of a memory lane, guys, because of the fact that we are going somewhere with this. Tamara, you look good in that. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Helene. And so we were in Vegas. I was already there because I was there for Sherry Watson had a nonprofit on how to write grants and such things. Skip was at that one too. And so, and you're like, how long are you going to be there? I'm on my way in. And I'm like, I'm about ready to leave. You're like, just stay. We're going to have some fun. So the limo there, guys, we made Matt and Marcus our service heroes for those days. They took us on limo rides and we had some fun, right?
Oh my goodness, yes we did. That was so much fun. And I remember I was coming back from a speaking engagement in Utah and I just got asked last minute to speak in Las Vegas and I thought I'm just going to stay. And I don't know if you remember that outfit that I'm wearing, but I actually went and bought that at the lobby of the hotel. I think it was the Aria in
I was there. Remember, and I got these. I actually, I remember, and I'm wearing them because they're not something I've really worn much.
Guys, love those earrings. I know, and we spent way too much money on whatever we bought in that lobby. But I remember being like, I had been speaking at a cabin retreat, so all I had were these cabin clothes. So that was really fun. So I loved that. And hey, and that picture of us up in the stratosphere. Oh my gosh. That brings back so many memories.
Doesn't it? Yeah, and we have Mr. Awesome in the house, Eric. It's nice to see you. In fact, Eric was at that the Spirit Summit that we just talked about, where you and I met. And yes, you know, this picture, that was a great night, and it brings back a lot of. The picture captures the time there, and then we had a time afterwards where we were talking about world events and things, how we can affect change, how we can impact the world. I'll never forget that because it was one of the and you and I talked about it afterwards. It was one of the times that then later I drew upon that evening when I decided to run for the next impactor, the first global next impactor.
I just had chills when you said that.
Because we talked about, that's where we went, is how we can take these messages that we are affecting people locally and world, throughout the United States, but in those remote areas of the world, how can we? And that was a discussion that I'll never forget. And then, of course, we've got Ryan there, and I went back to that when the events took place right after this the city summit and city gala this year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that was so powerful. I was just looking at that and thinking about it. It's really interesting. I just want to bring up this point here because I think that when we do step into that place of really impacting other people's lives, that impact lives, and really leaves a legacy. And it's interesting because one of the people in this photo, Ryan, passed away recently, and he was a good friend of both of ours. And I remember, going back to that moment and the discussions we were having there, and then also thinking about Ryan, and he put together a big event called City Summit and City Gala. had all these amazing and impactful things he was doing in the world. And unlike all of us, he's had challenges and struggles, but he just had this huge heart and really wanted to help people. And I've felt that strength from that moment, and I felt the strength from just knowing someone like Ryan. And even though he's passed on, there's been several times I've thought and been inspired, what would Ryan want me to do in this situation? What would Ryan do? So yeah, that's just bringing up a lot of emotion and memories looking back there. And it was so fun. The other lady in there, Raquel, who's in there, she of course runs some amazing things where she brings communities of people together. Her and Al do, and then Michelle, and all the difference that she's making in the world. And then I remember Matt was always so kind and generous. So it was neat. And there's this moment where we're literally on top of the world in the stratosphere, and we're talking about how to impact the world and how to change it. It was interesting too, because at that point in my life, I really hadn't traveled a ton. I'd done some traveling, but just amazing also to think about, the impact that when you set that intention that you're able to make. And I'll say intention fuels intuition, intuition fuels intention. And so I said that, I remember setting that intention to be able to make that impact as you did. And it's been fun to see where both of us have ended up since then.
Exactly. And so then we go on, and it continues on, because then I am challenged by Tasha Cooney. Tasha Cooney, I went to join you at Phoenix at one of David Fagan's events. Tasha Cooney was there as the videographer and a speaker, and Don McGrath was there. A lot of people that ended up, being very involved in a lot of what I have been doing and such things. But Tasha, she's like, Tamara, you don't have enough content for Chemo Buddies for Life. And would you consider taking a challenge? And I'm like, you know me, Allison. I'm like, yeah, bring it on. Bring it on. What kind of challenge do you have? She's like, well, it's going to take a bit of a real concentrated effort. It's 365 days of awesome. And I'm like, what does that mean? And she's, you can do any kind of video, but it has to be video, but you can video it and then upload it. You can go live, you can whatever you want to do, but it has to do with video, and it's for 365 days, and you tag it that way. And so I took the challenge. Then I went to you and I said, okay, Allison, I've taken a challenge. I got to figure out what to do. And it took a little bit of time, because we really dived into it, didn't we?
I remember that.
Yeah. We had quite a few actual conversations, guys. This was not an overnight, oh yeah, let's just throw this up and do this, because at that time I had Chemo Buddies for Life, and we had started creating a community. I had been going through your media training, so I had already started lives and realized that I was feeling a little uncomfortable with it, and because of the technology piece, not being on camera, but the technology piece and running it yourself, and how do you do this and that, and that was, and so I would talk to you about it. We would talk through, and then you'd have different experts come in and talk, and like, okay, I can write this down, and I'm taking my note, or, homework. And then one of the buddies comes to me, and I'm talking to you about this, and one of the buddies, stage 4, was saying, the news is just not, it's just getting to be so bad out there, and I'm just not sure that I want to keep going anymore. The fight is just getting to be too real. And why fight? Because look what's happening. And I'm thinking, and I'm talking to you about this because it really affected me. I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, I'm going now to all of these places. By then you had been inviting me to different places. I've been really fortunate to go to Florida with you, and meet some amazing people, and the Las Vegas and Phoenix and LA and all sorts of wonderful places. And you invited me to be there, and I'm meeting all these wonderful people and streaming live so that the buddies are seeing it. They're loving them too. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's disconnect. So I asked the buddy, well, I need some help with something. She's like, what do you need? I knew then it was a matter of messaging. So you and I concocted the idea of how do we tell the story, right, of these amazing people and people making a difference.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun coming up with this, right?
Well, it was. And what's so interesting is it really was ahead of its time. And well, not in a bad way, but you were like the leader of this movement, because I think, especially with what we've seen lately with the coronavirus and things, we've seen this explosion of these communities of people wanting to celebrate each other and wanting to bring good news and good out in the world. And I think, you with Chemo Buddies for Life, there's so many opportunities when you're struggling with cancer to feel depressed. It's so hard to sometimes find the good in things. And so the fact that you're out there searching and looking for the good in people and celebrating them, that's what life should be about. That's what life is about. Building these communities and just, having a place where people can come home and where they can feel like they are unconditionally loved and unconditionally accepted, and where they can learn from other people, where we can all work together to celebrate each other. I remember hearing something one time, and it went something like this. When you criticize somebody, their conscience will console them. But when you compliment somebody, their conscience will compel them. That means all these criticisms and negativity, that just, we end up justifying these reasons for us not being happy or not moving forward in our lives. But when somebody compliments us, when somebody celebrates us, when we see somebody else being celebrated, it compels us to step into this biggest and best and greatest version of ourselves. And Tamara, you and I are so similar in the fact that we love people and love spotlighting other people. And I remember seeing that in you. And, I remember one of the earliest discussions that we had actually was, is there going to be enough people?
I remember that too. And now I'm over 2 years into this. I did take a break. Yes. Yeah. However, now I'm back, and the coronavirus, the COVID, actually brought us back, and we have a whole new audience that's come, and we have others that have come back. It's interesting how the world works when you really are out there with a passion and a purpose to make a difference. Mm-hmm. There will be a platform, there will be a time, and you'll know the time is now.
Well, and I want to share with you too, because I think that this falls a lot into intuition. And I really just, my brand is Soul Intuition. It's what I teach people how to do, how to listen to their intuition. And one thing that I know for sure is that if you have that desire to help people, if you have that desire, and it doesn't have to be through a huge platform or a huge stage, but if you have that desire, an opportunity will always be provided. It's just a matter of tapping into that intuition. I remember, before this whole coronavirus hit, right before it hit, we were in Nepal. Gerald and I, we were doing a spiritual adventure retreat with some of our clients there. And it was amazing. We went and visited and served at this orphanage up in the Himalayas above, Kathmandu. And we went and visited monasteries and saw monks. It just brought this amazing perspective. It kind of brought me back into alignment that the world is a big place, and how can I serve and help people. And on the way back, we had to fly through Istanbul. Originally our flight been through China, but it was closed. And this was right before everything shut down, right? We literally got back the day or two before Trump said no more flights from Europe. But we had a couple of days in Istanbul, and I remember Gerald and I just saying, okay, let's just take a moment to really think about what we want to achieve. And this actually all started because I had a freak out moment. I was in the bathroom in the hotel, and I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? I don't know what's going on with this whole world, and what's going to go on in my business, and how am I going to take care of my family? And I just had this freak out moment. Like, I haven't had one of these freak out moments in a while. I think I told you I used to struggle a lot with anxiety. I had,
Yes.
but I've learned so many tools. I feel like I'm pretty like centered most of the time. I had this freak out moment, and I went into the bed totally freaking out, and I pulled the covers over my head. I just said, God, what should I do? And when Gerald came in, it was really interesting because that started a discussion, which led to like a meditation where we were just really trying to tap into, how can, and the question we asked is, how can we best show up and serve the world at this time? How can we best use the gifts and the talents and the things that we've created to best help and serve the world at this time? And it was really interesting because we both felt really strongly like we needed to hold an event with hundreds of people there. Now, this was before everything had totally shut down, but still we're thinking, okay, well, holding an event with hundreds of people, and we've been keeping our event smaller on purpose, but we said, okay, we surrender. That's going to be our intention. And it was really interesting because over the course of the next week and a half, things aligned and aligned and aligned. And we ended up doing an online 21-day challenge. We had no idea in Istanbul what we were going to do. I didn't think, that hundreds of people was going to be a virtual event, but it was. We ended up having over 900 people join us from all over the world. Ended up just having an amazing experience. And there were people on the call, people from multi-millionaires and influencers down to one guy who was on the call. He kept, telling us that he was homeless. And it was so interesting to see how we were able to use and inspire to use these different gifts and talents to bring this community of people together from all over the world. And it just was a real testimony to me of the power of intuition and just really being able to surrender and say, okay, I can't change my circumstances, but this is what I want. I want to serve people. I want to help people now. I'm going to be in tune with the ways that are provided to do that. So you've always been such a great example of that, Tamara. And it's just been beautiful to watch you follow your intuition. And I've seen, your interviews with guests, and I've seen the comments. And I know there's people that are listening, that are watching right now, that in a moment when you had a guest, that was the day that they needed to hear what that person was saying. Or that was the moment that something you said inspired them or encouraged them. And maybe it was a big inspiration to do something new and big, or maybe it was just the inspiration to get out of bed that day. But I've seen you touch lives over and over again. And I just love how you followed your intuition.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And guys, truthfully, I am so grateful for this woman because my intuition was to work with you. My intuition was that in working with you, it would help to unlock some of the things, because we all have those things, if you will, and that come with us when we know we have a purpose to go forward. However, I knew that I knew I needed to do it, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. Right? And we had
right? Just like that.
Yeah, many of those questions. It's like, Allison, I know I need to be doing this, but I just really don't know. And then all of a sudden, this is the way it would work. And I started to learn from Allison, and now with all the other people I've worked with since also, I actually had this discussion this morning with one of my kids, and it was about intention and language and really figuring out, be crystal clear with what you want, because oh my gosh, put it out there, you're going to get it, and make sure that it's something that is going to work with the full, like with the meditation, and making sure that it is within your life's purpose. And we had many of those discussions, and that's what you would always do. I would come sometimes freaked out, guys, I will be admitting it, and she would be like, okay, her calm Allison self, and she'd say, okay, now let's look at this. And then we would work it through. And then it would be, she'd then end up calling me and she'd say, guess what? And there would be this next step, and it would be, okay, now, in fact, I will say one of the things that was so exciting was the very first time, I'm going to bring this up here, I've got so many pictures that I loaded, that I was in some kind of a magazine.
Wow, yes, I love that one. Yeah, Terrell Owens was on the cover of that magazine. That was pretty awesome. So,
And that was really fun, because that was, you remember those moments in time, guys, when, and I was talking about this with my child, or adult child now, and I said, remember, I used to always say this, always say it. I would say it. I had no clue how, what, when, where, why, or any of that, but for my whole life I've been saying certain things. Those things are completely taking place, or have now taken place. It's like when I kept putting it out there every single day, and many people were tagged, and thank you for not unfriending me, when I was tagging everyone, running for the next impactor. I said every day, I am the next impactor. I'm not saying I will become. I said I am, and it happened. What I have learned, Allison, and a lot of it is because of you, is when you put it out there, when you believe it so wholeheartedly, when you are walking it, it happens. And like this event right here, an interesting picture, but it's the one I got. That event right there. Yes, guys, I'm wearing flats. Yes, guys, I look like I do. We had to walk. We walked how many blocks in LA for that event that day?
Oh my gosh, so many. I remember that. Yeah, we were clear down the street, and for some reason we couldn't get, like, the hotel was doing construction, and
yeah, right. And there was just so many things, and we needed to be there because we were putting on the summit. It was my very first mini summit. It was the Service Hero mini summit. Yeah. And you and David Fagan gave the platform for us to be able to have it. And I just had Barry Shore, the Smiling Movement, and of course Andrea. It's right here on the feed right here that she now is partnering as a sponsor and helping with the Red Carpet Connection and the Smiling Movement. And I was able to give Barry the very first award that I've ever given, and then the next day I was able to give Rock Against Trafficking the second award. Gary Miller, and Jamie Guiley, the two of them together came in for that. And this was a matter of putting the intention out there. And we actually filled the room with service heroes, didn't we?
Yeah, and it was so amazing to see. I remember Barry just was so gracious and so thankful to be there and being honored for the work that he's done. For those of you who have seen Barry on Tamara's show, I'm sure you've fallen in love with him. But yeah, it's really powerful. And that there's a couple of components. So I always say to people, one of the reasons why vision boards don't work is because people don't always take action on them. So it is important. You put your vision out there, you set your intention, but then the other important part is intention fuels intuition. So you have to listen to your intuition and then act on it. When you feel those, ideas to go do something, when you feel those ideas to reach out to somebody, or you feel these ideas to do whatever, you act on it. And so for me, I think I shared, early on in my career, just getting this email and just my intuition screamed, you need to go to that mastermind. And that's where I met a mentor that, helped me change my life. Sometimes it's just little things. There's a story I really want to share really quick about intuition, because I think sometimes we think, we look at these big things we've done, right? Like, Tamara, you've done so many amazing big things. You've set these big intentions. You've followed your intuition. You've taken action on them. You've been able to create this amazing impact in the world. But it's also about the little things too. And I'm sure you have multiple stories about this, but I just remember one time I was at Meters, and I just finished eating, and I was standing in the line. I wanted to get a treat. I was there with my son. I wanted to get a treat on my way home, like a tea, like a mint brownie or something. And the line was pretty long. As I'm standing there waiting in line, I kept seeing over to the side, I kept seeing these frosted sugar cookies. It was springtime. They were the springtime frosted sugar cookies at Eaters. And I kept getting this idea in my mind that I should buy some for this lady who I was friends with in my neighborhood named Jody. And I kept feeling like I should get these for her. And I was like, well, that's weird. What do I do? Just stop by and give her cookies? And I was like, well, it's just her and her husband. You know, do I get 2 cookies? Do I get half dozen cookies? And all these thoughts just, you know, and oh, I don't really have time. And oh, it would be awkward. And oh, how many do I get? But my intuition was just screaming, get these cookies. So I'm like, fine. So I ended up getting half a dozen cookies. I thought I'll just drop them by her house on my way home. And I'll never forget, you know, I approached her house and I knocked on the door and I had these cookies in my hand. And it took a really long time, but finally she answered the door and she kind of cracked it open. And I could see tears streaming down her face. And I thought, oh my gosh. And she saw the cookies in my hand and she just burst into tears, into sobs even more. And I said, oh my goodness, what's wrong? And it actually took her like 5 minutes before she could even speak. And she told me her sister had committed suicide the day before, and she just found out that morning. And she was feeling so bad about it, you know, as any of us would be. And she really was struggling because she felt like maybe she didn't do enough to help her sister. And she said but right before I got in there, she'd been praying to just for a sign from God that her sister loved her and that she'd done enough. And that's when I knocked on the door. And she said every time her sister came to visit her in town, she would stop by Meters and get the season's frosted sugar cookies and bring them to her. And when she saw those cookies in my hand, she knew it was a sign from her sister saying that she loved her. And it was really interesting for me in that moment to feel like, you know, I was just this instrument, you know, in God's hands in helping somebody that really needed help in that moment. I was just really thankful that I listened to my intuition. And so sometimes it's about helping the world. Sometimes it's about big things like we talked about with Ryan and Raquel and, you know, Matt and Michelle, the top of the stratosphere. And sometimes it's just about listening to that voice in your head that's telling you to go knock on somebody's door, or send somebody a text, or make a call, or bring somebody cookies. And it really just comes down to, you know, when we're able to do that, when we have that intention to help other people, our intuition will help guide us so that we can make the world a better place.
And that's the thing, that's the beauty of working with you, because that was the thing that I always held on to. And truthfully, guys, I know I think really big, and this is big. However, Allison helped to ground me in such a way that, I mean, people talk about go put your feet in the dirt and the grass and go and hug a tree, and we actually did those kind of things. We were in Florida and we went and saw, you know, well, we had many experiences like that where we were really, I mean, we actually went and hugged trees one night out at the one location that we went to. And there, those exercises of, you need to keep it real, because in keeping it real, and you need to make it, and so that people will relate to it and not phony. It can't be phony. It has to be genuine. It has to come from a real genuine place. And that's the thing. And that's what drew me to working with you. And then I had the bonus and the amazing, I don't know, I always was pinching myself that I got to be, you know, like many times your traveling companion and your roommate, and just have that. Cool. Yeah, well, you too. And because it this is where, again, guys, when you genuinely are feeling called to do something, the universe says, okay, let's make it happen. Allison coming into my world at the time that she did, and it being the experience that it was exactly what I needed for not only what we're creating with Chemo Buddies and for this show and all of it, but for Tamara Hunter herself personally. Mm-hmm. And that's the way it works. And And I want to go into that right now because we're going into this weekend, and I want to say Happy Mother's Day to you because, and I'm bringing up your picture from your profile that you have this beautiful, beautiful family, and you are a mother of amazing kids. And each time that you take your mother bragging moments, I love it when you do that and you share with all of us how things are going. They are doing remarkably well. And truthfully, again, so many of us come from situations that are less than, if you will, perfect. Wink, wink. You know what I mean? And kids need to be raised, and we need to really be focusing in on our next generation and health and wellness and helping them to feel good about themselves. And you not only help others to do exactly what you've helped me and many, 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 many others do, you have done it with your kids, and they're the light of your life, right?
No, you're gonna make me cry now. Yeah, yes, and it, it really is interesting. I think, when it comes down to it, it's really about perspective. Um, I feel inspired to say, sometimes we take things for granted. There was for example, yesterday on one of our calls that we do with our program that we're involved in, we start out on this Zoom call, and we have everybody say one thing they're grateful for. And Gerald called on this one lady, and he said, "Heidi, what are you grateful for today?" And she said, "I'm grateful to be alive." And I remember hearing it and thinking, "Oh, I'm grateful to be alive too. That's what a great thing to say." And then, her next sentence really changed my perspective. She said, "What you don't know is I was diagnosed with cancer since the last time you saw me, and I don't know how long I'll be alive." And remember in that moment, just thinking, wow, I'm really grateful I'm alive. And suddenly in that moment, I felt the breeze blowing on my skin. I felt my heart beating in my chest. I felt the air moving in and out of my lungs. And it changed my perspective. My kids, it's really interesting. I love being a mom. I love my kids so much. And it's been challenging. I just had to move. I'm right in the middle of custody discussions with my ex-husband. Coronavirus has happened. I was talking with a lady the other day, and she said to me, "I'm just so tired of being stuck inside with my kids during all of coronavirus." And I said, "Well, at least you get to see your kids. I haven't seen my kids in weeks because of this." And so it's really interesting when we take things and look at them from a perspective and think about what things are really important to us. And my kids are some of the most important people in my life. I love it. And I just want to say too, Helene, I love your words. Thank you so much for welcoming to the community. And Tamara, I know you're a mother too, and I know you understand that can be, and it's just really interesting how many things that we can be grateful for when we really put them into perspective, and how important the people that we love are to us.
So true. And I've had this discussion. We've had this discussion. And Sherry, it's interesting that you're not late. You're perfect timing. It's crazy how this works, and it's the intention. It's not an accident. And that's the thing too. I'm so glad you got to witness this, Allison, because of the fact that this is what happens nearly every day now. A subject matter will come up. It will, then someone will show up that maybe hasn't been on the show and been here to watch the show for a year and a half, 2 years maybe. However, I really wanted them to be here. I didn't have a chance to, I didn't reach out. However, the intention was out there, right? And they must have felt the energy and such things. Sherry is one of our newer buddies, and she immediately has gotten involved as an ambassador, and she actually suggested that we put it out there in our closed group community, which we now have thriving. And again, another thing that we had talked about a long time ago, it is up and going. And we talked about honoring mothers, especially right now, because there are so many mothers that one way or another they're being separated because of the coronavirus. They are unable. We have so many unable to travel that normally travel to see their kids. There's Then we also honored the mothers that had gained their wings, like my mom, and we made that very special, and so that everybody could really honor that, have a place in it that we could all share in that love. And there is something to the frequency of love, and all of what you're sharing right now, and nothing is perfect, like with what you were talking about, the one person. Oh, I love you too, and this is what it's all about. And when you were talking about the one person that mentioned what she did, I mean, we in our community, that's something that we deal with every day. However, we also deal with the fact that it is incredible, the people that you and I have met, that have so much insight into so many of the different things that are available out there, and how so many people, and the power of intention, the power of the heart and the soul and the brain and the body, and how that really can make such a difference in our overall attitude and in our overall general health. And you've been traveling all over the world. You've seen so much, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's been really eye-opening. It was so surprising to me. I think, as we're talking about love and gratitude, one of the lessons that I've learned, and being mothers too, but one of the lessons that I've learned, the greatest lessons recently, was visiting this orphanage in Nepal. And a lot of these children, there was a really powerful earthquake in Nepal 5 or 6 years ago. A lot of these children lost their parents in that earthquake in their homes. And that's how they became orphans. And they live in this orphanage up in these mountains above Kathmandu. And when we went and saw them, I kind of came in with the expectation that I was going to be able to help these kids. I'm from America, and I'm, all this education, and I'm, comparatively speaking, have a lot more money than they do. And I just thought, oh, I'm going to be the hero. I'm going to save the day. I'm going to go in with this group of people. And we're going to help these kids so much. And we were donating our time and effort to, just go and be with these kids. And it was really interesting because there were several kids at the orphanage. There were about 50, right around 50 children that lived there. And they range in age down from the youngest is just this 2-year-old girl to the oldest is 18. And then once they're 18, they go on their own. But as soon as we walked in, and these kids, I mean, they live in a shed. There's a girl's room and a boy's room. It's just full of bunk beds. And they have this dirt courtyard that they play in. They have a dining hall, and they have 2 meals a day. And it's the same thing that they eat for both of those meals. It's the greens they grow in their garden above, rice, and then some kind of like curried potatoes. And they have just a bunch of Crocs, those shoes Crocs, and they all just share them. And they're lucky if they have 2 pairs of underwear and a couple pairs of clothes to wear. But as we walked into the gates of this orphanage, these kids didn't even know us, and they ran up and they gave us hugs and loved us. They let us sleep in their beds. We stayed overnight at the orphanage, and they shared their food with us. And mostly they shared their hearts with us. I have never felt so loved in my life. Such unconditional love. We had a dance party, and if you were standing outside of the dance party, one of the kids would come and get you and say, come dance with me, just in their little courtyard there. And I learned such a lesson in that it's not our possessions that give us happiness. It's kids, they didn't even have parents. The man and the lady that ran the orphanage, they even left at night and went home and slept, and the kids just took care of each other. But they had love. And they had a perspective that life was beautiful. One boy said to us, what do you guys want to be when you grow up? And he said, I want to write something. I want to write something that's going to reach at least 100 people in my life. And it was just beautiful to see their perspectives, and to see how much love they had to give. It really taught me that love is really what we need to feel wealthy in this world. It's not the not the possessions. It's not even, it's not even the amount of wealth that we have. It's just feeling like we have a community, we have a family, whether they be blood family or soul family, and that we just show up in love.
I love that. Now, as we wrap this up, I want to talk about what you're doing, and then I want to give you just a few moments. I know we're a little late, guys, but this is an important show. I'm just so excited to have Allison here. And you right now, because of the what's happening with COVID, because you're out on stages, you've been traveling all over the world, you've been doing these amazing retreats, you've been helping people with eye-opening and soul-opening experiences and awakenings and everything. And now you are helping. It's like what you were sharing with the sheet, and then the awakening and the meditate, all of that. Okay, now you're helping more than 100. You're helping, probably now into the thousands of people throughout the world to work with like their legacy. And so you've got like a legacy challenge that's coming up. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, so it's maylegendary.com, maylegendary.com, like the month May, M-A-Y, legendary.com. So right now we actually have a free challenge going on. If you want to join that, you can go to legendarychallenge.org. But this challenge right now is we just have people gathered from all over the world that join us via Zoom. We call them our soul family. So we're calling in our soul family. And it's a community of people who are really there to support each other. And what we're doing right now is every morning we have a 15-minute what we call soul activation. It's where we gather together as this tribe on Zoom, and we just do some breathing exercises, and we share gratitude. And it's beautiful. And then at 9 o'clock, so after that 15 minutes, 9 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, there's just a beautiful message shared, a message of hope, a message of encouragement. And then afterwards, we break into small groups, and everybody's in a small group where they can receive support from each other. So we're right in the middle of that. That's legendarychallenge.org. If you want to register and hop on for our final days of that, you can kind of see what that's about. But then that rolls into a 3-day event that we're doing next week. It's an immersive event, and it's all about really remembering who you are and stepping into that legendary version of you. So what we've learned, and this is, so wonderful. We've been able to create this beautiful community. We actually had Jack Canfield reach out to us after our last event. And he said, can you just share with me, how are you able to build this community? How are you able to share this love? How did you, in our community, guys, you know this because you've got this in this community, but we've got people that are, calling each other and visiting each other now that things are starting to open up. We've got people that are there supporting each other, that are crying with each other, that are laughing with each other. We brought a musician on one night. We had like a music night, and people were singing songs together, all virtually, which is so incredible and so amazing. So yeah, if anybody on here feels called, again, I so resonate and agree with what you said, Tamara. It's not about really like forcing people to do something or marketing or selling or whatever. It's just about making everybody feel aligned with being in that soul family. Then please feel free to join us there. But just the bigger vision is just calling in the soul family, calling in the people who are really setting themselves apart as leaders right now and creating a tribe and a support group and system for them.
It's so needed. And as we're just about to wrap this up, I'm going to drop from the line for a moment, and I'm going to give you a little bit of time for you to just leave a thought, a nugget, something that you want to say, and then I'll come back and we'll close it out, okay?
Okay, great. Geez, get put on the spot here, but my message for you, and I think just for myself, just remember who you are, because when you truly remember, there's no problem that will ever be bigger than your potential. There's no challenge that will ever be larger than your capacity to be able to step up to that challenge. Just remember who you are. Remember that you are love, that you are loved, and that you are loving. Remember that you are powerful. Remember that you have within you the power to create this life that you have, and you have created it. And just take a moment to be grateful for that. And just if you want to just close your eyes, I always like to do this at the end, just put my hands on my heart. Just take a couple of deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth, giving gratitude for your body, giving gratitude for your heart, feeling that love that is in your heart right now begin to swell and grow, imagining that love spreading to fill every part of your body, down to your feet, out to your arms and fingertips, all the way up to the top of your head, till you feel your entire body filled with love and light and peace. And now expanding that love and light and peace out beyond your body to fill that space just directly around you, knowing that anybody that's were to come into that space right now, they feel that love and light from you. Now expanding that love and light and peace to fill the entire room that you're in right now. If there's anybody else in that room, imagine them feeling a little bit of that love and light. Now expanding that love and light to fill the entire structure that you're in right now, whether it be your house, apartment building, office building. Just thinking about all the people that are in that structure feeling a little bit of that love from you. Now expanding that love out to fill your entire city, thinking about the people in your city that need and that want and that are craving to feel that light and that love, and imagine them feeling a little bit of that light and love radiating from your heart right now. Now imagining that light and love expanding to fill your entire state. Again, imagining the people in your state feeling of that light and love, and then expanding it to fill the entire country. Imagining all of those health workers out there right now feeling of that light and love, the people who are sick, who are hurting, who are in prison, the people who are serving so lovingly in so many different capacities. Allow them to feel of your light and love. And now allowing that light and love and peace to expand to fill the entire world. Sending that light and love to our global community, to our brothers and sisters all over the world. In the recent months, the blessing of this COVID has been that it unites humanity, has united us together through a common fear so that we could show up in love and light and have the opportunity to show up that way for each other. Imagine people all over the world feeling your light and love, and then bringing that light and love right back to your heart. Again, just giving gratitude for your life. You have one life to live. Be legendary.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Allison. Now you guys can see why I love this woman so much. So, as we close our time together right now on the Service Hero Show on May the 8th, 2020, 365 Days of Awesome, Celebrate Success through Service. Allison Larsen, you are once again really determined to be a service hero. You serve so many, and you have served me personally, and in doing so, you have helped to serve the community that I serve. You have helped so many others that I know, that you know, and like you just did right now, you just actually helped to serve the world, one person at a time. You are truly a gift to us all, and I am just absolutely grateful to know you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. It's TGIF Friday, and in the closed group, we have fun. We are going to have fun. It is going to be fun. However, I'm not going to tell you everything about it right now. I'll post it. You guys will find out. But just put it on the books. If you're a part of our community, be there at 5 o'clock p.m. and 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. And if you're not, come on, join us. It's Chemo Buddies, the number 4 life, Chemo Buddies for life in the group. And you want to ask to join us. So it's the group community, Chemo Buddies for Life community. We'll have you come on in, and we ask one thing. Anything that happens there stays there. It's like Vegas. However, we share a lot of humor, hope, heart, hugs, and love. So join us. We're going to have fun tonight. Wink, wink. There just might be some music around the corner. I'll give that hint. See you there. Bye.